He was still strapped into the seatbelt, eyes wide open, dead. Amber didn't scream. She couldn't. Not yet. The engine of the semi-truck was still humming, faintly, as if unaware of the lifeless body slumped behind the wheel. The cab reeked of diesel and blood. The smell of something burnt clawed at the back of her throat. She looked again. Jason, the trucker she'd trusted for the last 4 days, was dead. His chest had stopped rising. His fingers were still curved around the steering wheel, and there on the cracked leather seat between them sat her phone. Shattered, no signal, and no one knew where she was. Amber hadn't planned to hitchhike. She wasn't stupid, not anymore. After leaving her ex in Oklahoma, she was supposed to hop a bus back to her sister's place in Montana. But buses cost money. Money she didn't have. Not after he took everything. So when Jason pulled up at the diner outside Amarillo in his deep blue Peterbilt and asked if she needed a lift north, she hesitated, then said yes. He was calm, polite, early 40s, clean-shaven, smelled like peppermint gum. He talked about his wife, showed her a photo, said he knew what heartbreak felt like. That made Amber feel safe. For the first 2 days, everything felt fine. Better than fine. They talked about music, loss, and forgiveness. Jason even let her pick the radio stations. They shared bags of trail mix and laughed when a raccoon tried to steal their sandwiches at a rest stop in Kansas. On the second night, she cried in the sleeper berth, and he passed her a bottle of water and said softly, "You'll survive. You already have." Amber had started to think, maybe I can trust people again. Until night 3, it started with they were supposed to take I-25 into Wyoming, but Jason took a turn she didn't recognize. "Shortcut," he'd said, eyes on the dark, narrow road. Amber checked her phone. Still no signal. Trees pressed in on both sides, thick and heavy, like something out of a horror film. "You sure?" she asked. Jason didn't answer right away. Then, "Trust me. I've been driving this route longer than you've been alive." That's when she noticed he'd turned off the radio and locked the doors. That night, they stopped at a gas station that looked like it had been abandoned since the 80s. Only one dim light flickered near the roof. No cars, no people, no sound. Amber stayed in the truck while Jason went inside. 10 minutes passed, then 20. She considered getting out, but the woods were thick. She was hours from any real town, and Jason still had her backpack. Then he returned, not with snacks or gas, but with an old man she didn't recognize. The man looked at her too long, then leaned into Jason's ear and whispered something. Amber's gut screamed, "Get out, now!" But it was too late. Jason didn't say a word. He drove in silence. Amber kept glancing at him and noticed something was off. His knuckles were white. His breathing faster. She checked her shattered phone. No light, no signal. Nothing but the quiet hum of tires on blacktop. Then, finally, Jason spoke. "You know, sometimes people just vanish out here. No one looks, no one remembers. You ever think about that?" Amber froze. This wasn't the same man from 2 nights ago. Something in his voice had turned cold, mechanical. She reached slowly toward her bag under the seat, but it was gone. That's when the crash happened. A deer? A branch? Amber couldn't tell, but the truck lurched hard to the right. The windshield cracked. Jason's body slammed against the wheel. He didn't move again. She climbed over him in a panic, flung the door open, and jumped. She hit the cold earth hard and rolled. The forest around her was silent, except for one thing, footsteps. Now it had been nearly an hour. Amber crouched behind a thicket of bushes, watching the truck from a distance. Jason's body hadn't moved, but the forest wasn't empty. She'd seen shadows, heard voices, low, whispering ones, like children speaking through broken radios. And then, the most terrifying thing yet, Jason stood up. Not alive. Not fully, but twitching, moving like a puppet, his face twisted. Wrong. His neck bent at an angle no human neck should. Amber bit down on her knuckle to stop from screaming. He wasn't alone anymore. There were more of them. Amber tried to back away, slowly, silently, but the ground beneath her shifted. Leaves gave way, a trapdoor. She fell straight down into the earth, into a dark, man-made tunnel. The last thing she heard before she blacked out was the sound of Jason's voice from above. "You should have stayed on the highway." Amber coughed and spat soil. Her ribs throbbed. The tunnel she'd fallen into smelled of rust and rotting wood. Total darkness wrapped around her like a body bag. She tried to move her arm. Sharp pain shot up to her neck. For one horrifying moment, she thought she'd gone blind. Then she heard it, a soft metallic click, then another, like a switch being flipped. One by one, dim yellow bulbs lit up along the narrow tunnel walls. Old bulbs buzzing, barely hanging from wires stapled into wet timber. The light revealed everything. Handprints, dozens, hundreds, smeared along the walls. Small, large, child-sized, bloody. Amber's chest tightened. Her ears rang. She didn't want to scream because she knew someone would hear her, someone already had. Years ago, the name of the case was the Prairie Vanishings. 7 missing people over 2 summers, all last seen along a forgotten stretch of forest highway in Nebraska. Truckers, drifters, a retired couple, all disappeared without a trace. No blood, no wreckage, no bodies. One investigator, a woman named Lydia Morales, had connected the dots. She'd found something odd about the way. Their phone signals cut out, always at the same mile marker. She filed a report. No one followed up. 3 weeks later, she went missing. Now Amber limped through the tunnel, one hand trailing along the cold wood to steady herself. Her breath fogged the air. She had no idea how far underground she was or how long she'd been. Unconscious, she turned a corner, checked and froze. A door, metal, bolted shut, but scratched violently on the inside. She didn't want to look closer, but she couldn't stop herself. There were letters carved in jagged, desperate strokes. JM. I'm still here. They won't let me out. And then, below that, do not trust the voices. Amber staggered. Back, that's when she heard one, a soft whisper directly behind her. Amber, come back, you're safe now. Jason's voice, but she hadn't heard the door open. No footsteps, no sound at all, until the words floated to her ears like smoke. She turned around fast, but the tunnel was empty. Her pulse exploded in her ears. 100 feet deeper, the tunnel widened. She stepped into a chamber lit by flickering fluorescent lights. And there, on the ground, a pile of wallets. Amber blinked, knelt down. Her fingers touched cracked leather, faded ID cards, old receipts, a child sticker collection on a pink Hello Kitty wallet. She counted 18 different IDs, and then she saw something that nearly made her vomit. A photo of herself, same clothes, same backpack. It was printed, not digital, laid carefully in the center like an offering. The date at the bottom, tomorrow's date. She heard breathing, heavy, wet. Amber spun. 3 people stood at the far wall, or what used to be people. They were pale, eyes clouded, mouths sewn shut crudely with black thread. They didn't speak. They didn't move. But when Amber stepped toward the tunnel to run, one of them raised its arm and pointed at her, and behind her something whispered, "You were supposed to die at the gas station." She ran. Amber didn't know how long she ran, but eventually the tunnel sloped upward. She crawled on her hands and knees, sobbing, bleeding, clothes torn, and finally, air, fresh, real air. She pushed through an old wooden hatch and tumbled out into a clearing of dead grass. The night sky stretched above, stars she hadn't seen in days, and then headlights. A truck was coming down the gravel road. She ran into the road, screaming, waving her arms. The truck screeched to a stop. The driver, a woman in her 50s, jumped. Out, Jesus Christ, are you hurt? Amber collapsed into her arms, safe or not. The woman's name was Marlene. She said she'd been driving this route for 22 years, said she'd heard rumors about disappearances, screams in the woods, people who turned up days later with no memory. Amber told her everything. Marlene listened, wide-eyed, then pulled out an old dog-eared photo from her dashboard. You said Jason had a blue Peterbilt? Yes, plate number, something 6T3. Marlene paled. That's my brother's truck. Amber stared at her. He disappeared 5 years ago. We never found the truck. Or him. Amber's mouth went dry. Wait, what? Marlene swallowed hard. He was sweet, kind, but he had PTSD, heard things, started drawing tunnels, said there were people underground. She showed Amber a sketch. It was the same tunnel, exactly the same. He swore the road curved left. He was wrong. Devon Keyes had been driving long haul for 14 years, from snowy Maine to scorched Arizona. But that night, somewhere in northern Utah, the road disappeared under his wheels. 1 second, gravel. The next, a deep, black pit. His truck lurched forward as if yanked by a chain, headlights flashing nothing but fog. He slammed the brakes. The wheels skidded, then silence. When he opened his eyes, the rig was parked, neatly, perfectly, on the shoulder of a road that shouldn't exist. He got out, heart pounding, expecting to see a ditch, maybe flipped axles, maybe twisted steel. But his 18-wheeler sat perfectly intact. Just somewhere else, the fog was thick as wool, swallowing everything more than 10 feet away. The air was too still, not a single insect, breeze, or sound. Then it came. Devon, you finally made it. A woman's voice, whispered, familiar. His sister's voice, the same sister who'd vanished in 2018, last seen at mile marker 197 on a road that didn't exist on any GPS. 5 years ago. Her name was Kaylee Keyes, bright, fierce, too brave for her own good. She was also Devon's younger sister. She tried truck driving for 6 months, wanting freedom. Then she vanished. One night, she called Devon sobbing, saying she'd picked up a hitchhiker who wouldn't speak, said the guy didn't blink, just stared, then suddenly whispered, "Your truck is already buried." The call dropped. Police found the cab, empty, door hanging open, keys in the ignition. Kaylee's phone was never recovered, and Devon never forgave himself for brushing off her fears. Devon spun around. "Kaylee," he called out into the fog. "Kay, is that you?" No answer, but the fog shifted, showing a faded road sign up ahead, barely lit by his truck's headlights. Mile marker 197, his stomach flipped. That number had haunted him for years, the number from her last phone call. The number the cops said didn't exist, the number that felt like a curse. And now, he was here. He turned toward the cab to get his phone, and someone was sitting in the passenger seat. A man, early 30s, face hidden under a hood, hands resting calmly in his lap. Devon's whole body froze. He hadn't heard a door open, hadn't seen anyone approach, and yet there he was, like he'd always been there. "You drive good," the man said softly. "Most people don't make it past the bend." Devon didn't answer. "You've got a choice now," the man continued. "You either look for her, or you drive on and forget." Devon took a step back. "Who the hell are you?" The man smiled. "I'm the one who saw what you did, what you didn't do." Devon's heart pounded. "What are you talking about?" The man's grin widened. "You told her to shut up, that it was just a prank. You said no one disappears without leaving something behind." A pause. "Well, she left you behind." Devon lunged for the door, but the cab was empty. The man was gone. He had no idea why, but Devon got in and drove. The road ahead was silent, foggy, endless, and yet he couldn't stop. His hands gripped the wheel like they were fused. The radio crackled, then her voice. "Devon, please." He slammed the brakes. The fog parted, just slightly, to show a wooden sign, aged and splintering. "Welcome to Haven Ridge." The town that had been abandoned in 1996 after a mysterious fire. Devon knew the name from one of Kaylee's last emails. She said something about passing through an old town with no people but too many voices. Now it was right in front of him, and so was her truck. It sat crooked on the edge of a cul-de-sac, her blue cab, rusting, tires flat, covered in soot. He ran to it, yanked open the driver's side door. Empty. Except on the seat sat her old necklace, the one Devon gave her when she passed CDL training, a tiny steering wheel charm, and next to it, a notebook. He flipped it open. The pages were filled with Kaylee's frantic writing, "They don't like headlights. The man with the split eyes told me Devon would come. If you're reading this, it's not too late. Please, burn the town. Don't let it spread." Devon looked up and saw shadows moving in the windows of houses that should have been ashes decades ago. Every door on the block opened at once. Men, women, children, all in trucker uniforms, some from the 70s, others in modern-day gear, walked out silently. Their faces were expressionless, all eyes locked on Devon, and one by one they began to whisper, "Devon, stay. We forgive you. You belong here." He backed up, climbed into Kaylee's truck, slammed the door. The ignition turned. The fuel tank was full. He peeled out, drove through the town at 90 miles per hour. Shadows chased him in the fog. One even leapt onto the hood, a face he almost recognized, but it vanished as soon as he passed mile marker 198. Suddenly, blue skies. He was on I-84, traffic, sunlight, radios, reality. He looked in the rearview mirror. The town was gone. No fog, no sign of the marker. Kaylee's notebook was still on the passenger seat. He pulled into a gas station, shaking, trying to make sense of it. That's when a little girl tapped on his window. "Mister, you dropped this." She handed him the necklace. "Where did you find this?" he asked, stunned. She smiled. "In the road, near the fire." He turned to look where she pointed, but when he looked back, she was gone. Later that night, Devon reviewed Kaylee's notebook again. One line made his skin crawl. "The town takes one survivor every 5 years. If no one comes willingly, they send someone to bring you in." Devon flipped to the last page, scrawled in blood-red ink, "You're the new driver," and underneath it, "Your route begins again next week. They said no one ever came back, but what if that's a lie?" Devon Keyes hadn't driven in. Weeks. Since that night at Haven Ridge, he couldn't bring himself to touch the wheel, but something or someone kept sending him signals. The necklace he buried in the woods reappeared on his dashboard. Kaylee's notebook kept flipping. Open to the same line, "The route begins again next week." And then came the final straw. He received a dispatch alert on an old tablet he hadn't used in years. One delivery, one destination. No sender ID, address, 397 Haven Ridge, but the town doesn't exist. Not on Google Maps, not in his GPS, not even on trucking forums. Still, Devon knew what he had to do, and he wasn't going alone this time. Amber Lowe hadn't slept properly since her fiancé Darren vanished in Nevada 6 months ago. They were both truckers, both crazy in love. Then, one night, he disappeared during a fuel stop, never finishing the route. All she found was a burner phone in his glove box with one video message. "Amber, if you're seeing this, I didn't just get lost. I got pulled in. There's a route, one that doesn't show up on maps. You'll know it by the mile marker, 197. Don't follow it, don't look for me, please." But Amber never listened to warnings. Now she was here, parked at a deserted Utah rest stop, staring at the same cursed mile marker. That's when a truck pulled in beside her. Devon Keyes. She almost didn't believe it. The face from every online forum post, every trucking Reddit mystery thread. "Devon," she called cautiously. He turned, surprised. "You're Amber, right? Darren's girl?" She nodded. "You've been to the town too, haven't you?" He didn't answer, just tossed something her way. Kaylee's notebook. Amber flipped through the pages, trembling. She paused at a section where Kaylee had listed missing truckers, including Darren Lowe, May 6, 2024. Picked up hitchhiker after Highway 8 detour. Amber's eyes watered. She was tracking them? Devon exhaled. She wasn't just tracking them, she was trying to free them. Amber's voice dropped. What are you saying? He leaned closer. I think they're alive. That night, they made a plan. Revisit the forgotten route, avoid the town, search mile marker 197 for the entrance to the yard. Amber had read the term in a message Darren left her once, a half-erased email that simply said, "If I vanish, find the yard. They all end up there." So they drove and together shoot 2 rigs, same speed, same route, through winding passes, through hours of radio silence, until finally the fog appeared, and then a road that hadn't been there seconds. Ego Devon spoke into the walkie. You seen this? Amber's breath caught. Yup, same damn fog, same damn smell. Burnt rubber, ash, and something rotting. Beyond the curve, the road widened. It wasn't a town. It was a graveyard of trucks, dozens of 18-wheelers, rusted, scorched, or half buried in the dirt. Cab doors wide open, windshields cracked. Names of missing drivers carved into the metal, and at the center, a large garage glowing with flickering red lights, like a repair shop from hell. Amber slowed down. Is this it? Devon nodded. This is the yard. They parked, stepped out together. Inside the garage, they found what they never expected. There were people inside, living ones, not monsters, not shadows, real, ragged, exhausted truckers, men and women who looked like they hadn't seen daylight in years. One woman, her badge said Darla M., approached. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. Amber stepped forward. I'm looking for Darren Lowe. Do you know him? Darla's face changed. We all know Darren. He kept us alive. Devon interrupted. What is this place? Darla looked up. This is where they put the drivers who saw too much, who tried to expose it, the ones who survived the towns. Amber stared. So, you're prisoners? No, Darla said bitterly. We're insurance. Suddenly, every light in the garage blinked out. Then a horn, low and deep, echoed through the fog. Not a normal truck horn, a warning. The drivers around them dropped tools and scattered into shadows. One yelled, "He's coming!" Amber spun. Who? Devon didn't move. He recognized the sound. The hitchhiker, the same faceless figure from Kaylee's truck, the one who could appear anywhere, inside any cab, without opening a door. And then, just outside the garage, a massive black semi rolled. Interview, no license plate, no logo. Just one message scrawled on the trailer in white paint. The debt never ends. The truck stopped. Its door opened. No driver emerged. Only a shadow stepped out. No face, no feet. Just an outline of a man that shimmered like oil on. Water, Amber's legs went numb. Devon took a shaky breath. The shadow spoke directly into their minds. 2 returned. 1 must stay. Amber yelled, "No, we're not playing your game." The shadow turned. "You already are." And with that, Darren stepped out from behind the black truck, alive, barely pale, eyes hollow, but breathing. Amber screamed and ran to him, held him like a lifeline. "I thought you were dead." "I was," Darren said hoarsely, "but I made a deal." The shadow gestured to Devon. "She can leave with him if you stay." Devon laughed bitterly. "Of course, blood for blood. That's how this place works." Amber shook her head, desperate. "No, there has to be another way." Darren whispered, "There is, but it's worse." They all turned to him. "If you destroy the yard, the portal closes. The drivers trapped here, they go with it forever. No rescue, no heaven, no hell, just gone." Amber's face crumpled. Devon looked around at the people inside. "I'm not choosing between saving one and erasing hundreds." The shadow tilted. "Its head. Then stay forever." Devon made his decision. He climbed into Kaylee's truck, grabbed her notebook, and walked into the heart of the garage, found the fuel tanks, poured every last drop across the concrete, and dropped a flare. The flames. erupted instantly. Fire devoured the building. The fog screamed. Shadows burst into smoke. Amber tried to run to him, but Darren held her back. He's ending it, like she tried to. Through the fire, Devon stood still, staring into the smoke. And just before the roof collapsed, he looked up and smiled because he saw her, Kaylee, waiting. Amber woke up in her cab. So did Darren. No fog, no black truck, no yard. Just the hum of the highway and the glow of morning. They drove straight to a highway patrol station, but when they checked the GPS logs, no trace of the yard. All that remained was Kaylee's necklace on the dashboard, and Devon's handwriting inside her notebook. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to save someone else. Just because you survive something doesn't mean you leave it behind. 1 year later, Amber still drives, but never at night, never past mile marker 197, and never without Darren's photo clipped to her visor, not as a keepsake, but as a warning. She doesn't talk about the yard, or Devon, or the black truck, not even when other drivers swap ghost stories over diner coffee, because the things she lived through, they weren't stories. They were traps, wearing the skin of roads and routes. But the past doesn't always stay buried. And this time, it wasn't calling Amber. It was calling Darren. Darren never quite recovered. He couldn't hold the wheel for more than 2 hours without trembling. Couldn't sleep through a full night without waking up drenched in sweat, convinced a shadow was watching. Amber tried everything: therapy, road trips, even quitting trucking altogether. But one night, while she slept, Darren left. He took her old dash cam, left behind a note. "I owe Devon everything. I'm going to find the truth." Amber chased him down the highway, heart pounding. His GPS pinged once, then went dead. The last coordinates? A forgotten way station off Route 68. She'd never heard of it, but Devon had once said, "The route changes, but it always returns." The building looked long abandoned. Shattered windows, moss on the roof, rusted gates. But inside, everything was pristine. Coffee pot still warm, paperwork filed, radio humming, and a scent that froze her blood. Burnt diesel, wet metal, rotten flowers. Amber followed a corridor lined with license plates, not hung up but nailed into the walls. Some still had bloodstains, and at the end of the hall, Darren, unmoving, staring at a wall of photographs. She ran to him, shaking. "Why did you come back here?" He didn't answer, just pointed. Amber followed his hand and saw it, a photo of Devon, smiling, in uniform, dated 2 months ago, but Devon had died in the fire. "Right?" Darren finally spoke. "I've seen him twice on the road, watching me from the cab of a red rig. Same eyes, same smirk, same scar on his cheek." Amber's hands went cold. "That's not possible." "No," Darren whispered. "It's worse. I think he made a deal to take their place, and now he's part of them." Amber stepped back. "No, he saved us. He did, and that's the price." The way station lights flickered, then every radio in the building crackled to life. Same static, same voice Amber had heard that night in the yard. "Debt paid, roll transferred. The collector drives on." Amber and Darren drove. They didn't. Nowhere, just away, but the road didn't let them. Because the moment they passed mile marker 197, time twisted. The sky turned red. The truck stopped responding to steering, and the road split into two. One paved with daylight, the other lined with wreckage, burned rigs, abandoned cabs, and black tire marks that led into fog. Amber screamed, "Don't take that lane!" But it was already too late. They didn't crash. They arrived somewhere worse than before, a mirror of the original yard, but this time it wasn't empty. There were no people, just photos, hundreds of them, nailed into tree trunks. Billboards and the sides of dead trucks, all faces of the missing, and in the center of it all, Devon's truck, polished, parked perfectly, engine still humming. Amber approached slowly. Inside the cab, the radio flicked on. Some debts never end. Some drivers don't escape, but some become the road. On the passenger seat was a box. Amber opened it. Inside, Kaylee's original notebook, now completely full. Dozens of names, dates, and towns. Routes that no longer exist. Ghost cities. And at the back, a final entry, written in Devon's handwriting. The collector doesn't choose you. You choose him. When you sacrifice too much to ever return. I made my choice. If you're reading this, you have one left. Leave or take the wheel. But if you take the wheel, you'll see everything. And it will never let you go. D. Amber dropped the notebook because outside the truck the fog moved and Devon was standing in it, alive but not human. His skin flickered like static. His voice was no longer his own. You came back. Darren ran toward him. You're alive? How? Why didn't you? Devon didn't answer. Instead, he placed a hand on Darren's shoulder, and Darren froze, eyes wide, locked in place like stone. Amber screamed, "Let him go!" Devon turned to her, face calm. "You can leave with him, but only if you take my place." The same words, the same deal he was once offered. Amber's heart thundered. Is this how it works? Someone always has to stay. Devon nodded, but then something changed. A small voice whispered in her head. Kaylee's voice. No one said the driver had to be human. Amber looked at the truck, then at the fog, then at Devon. If I destroy the road, do they go with it? Devon paused, then nodded. But the road fights back. Amber climbed into the cab, flipped every switch, turned the ignition. The truck roared to life, but something in it screamed like it didn't want to be driven. She stomped the gas. The truck shook violently. Darren, now freed, screamed behind her. Amber, don't, but she drove forward, straight through the fog, straight through the collector. The red rig burned white hot, mirrors cracked. Flames licked at the tires. She drove until the road collapsed beneath her, until every truck behind her vanished, until every photo on every tree burned away, until the road itself cracked open and swallowed everything. Amber woke up in her own bed, in her own home. The radio was playing softly. The sun was shining and Darren was asleep beside her, alive, safe, no fog, no shadow, no black truck. And Devon, he was gone, but not forgotten. Because in every trucker diner they stopped at, every gas station wall, every CB radio frequency, his name whispered like a legend, the man who broke the road. 6 months later, Amber now runs a small trucker hotline, the Yardlight Project, helping families find missing drivers, track strange detours, and report haunted routes. And every so often, she gets a package in the mail, no return address. Just a photo of a saved driver and a note. The road remembers, but so do we. D, she smiles, clips the photo to her wall and gets back behind the wheel. Not to run, but to guard the road. Because sometimes surviving horror doesn't mean escaping. It means choosing to face it, so others don't have to. The end.